Update too. I was at a Remembrance Day doing the photos yesterday. I wanted to put the video up yesterday, but because I ran out of gas, I've only had it happen to me twice on a motorcycle. So this is the first time it's happened to me with the van. But I was driving on here. I thought I could make it to the gas station, but I didn't. Anyway, stupidity hurt. I was only out $20, but it's the idea that I had to. I mean, I got lucky. As soon as the van came to the. And went into the coast mode because I was going downhill. At least I was able to coast straight off the road on a straight stretch and not on a blind curve, right? So, I was expecting to come back, see the van in the ditch and a tractor trailer overturned or something, But anyway, I just got across the road and put my thumb out, and the guy was going by and he picked me up. So I wasn't stranded for more than say 2 minutes. It's just enough to get out of the van, bail out of my Hawker Hurricane, and pull the chute. You know what I mean? That type of thing. So anyway, I get back. I come up the road, open the door, and my dad's, "What happened to the van?" I was like, "I ran out of gas," and I yelled at myself enough so that he wouldn't have to. So I'm like, "Stupid, bleeping idiot, da 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 da," that type of thing. So he didn't have to. So because he just did one of those, and you know what this means. It's just like. One of those, right? So it's like, why? So that's my punishment. So we get the gas and go up, and what did I do? I guess because I was so freaking, he was relaxing and he was comfortable and everything like that. So it's like I felt bad doing that. So I filled the gas can, I put the cap back on, I forgot the freaking spigot at the freaking gas station. So we get there and I open the gas can, and I look and I see it's not there. And my dad, he just turns around, gets back in the truck, and I yell at myself. So idiot, I was like, stupid. I was like, wow, really. And so that's why I didn't get the Remembrance Day video out yesterday. I didn't get as much footage as I would have liked. I was doing the photography, so I'll see if I can throw in some stills. I got to take the photos to one of the coordinators today and all that. So, but anyway, that was my day yesterday. Oh well, it all worked out. I put $20 into the gas into the van. So, all right. So let's jump into this World War III thing. All right. During the election, Russian diplomats were not allowed near any of the polling stations. The FBI wouldn't let them near the polling stations. There was a Russian diplomat that I heard that got killed on the election night, and I didn't hear any more follow-up. It was in New York. It seems to be a lot of Russian diplomats that get killed in New York for some reason. I think that's the second one within a year, anyway. If anybody didn't see this, again, for all the anti-Trump protesters out there, you're seeing all this stuff. I told you guys, no matter which way it goes, it's going to be rough. I mean, the anti-Trump protests now are almost as bad as the anti-Barack Obama protests that the right-wingers did in 2008 and in 2012. Oh, wait a minute, they didn't. You know what I mean? Like that type of thing. But you have to understand, it does look like this is a George Soros inspired thing again. Most of these leftists, again, this I guess is the distractionary part of it. I don't know how long they're going to be able to keep that up, though. I thought, okay, yeah, well, they could be using this to push in martial law, but it's not going to work. Why? Because the more people look into it, the more they're going to side on the Trump side. First thing that you need to do, and this says everything, this speaks volumes, and I want you to think of it in a historical context. Putin, in his address to, Donald Trump winning the election, number one, he came out and addressed it. One of the first world leaders to do this he said, yes, it's going to be a difficult road. The relationship between Russia and the United States, didn't deteriorate. It's not their fault for the deterioration. But they know it's going to be hard and difficult, but they're more than looking forward to restoring relations between Russia and the United States. But you have to understand this. Now, Putin could be calling a bluff here. He could be calling a bluff here. Or, like I say, we really don't know if this is all we're watching as theater, that they're all in on it, whatever. There is that speculation there. You have to leave that 5% of doubt in there somewhere. Because, sometimes if it looks too good to be true, it usually is, right? So Putin could be just calling bluff and then, the game goes on the same way it does. But I don't know, because I'm thinking, the Russians have had more than enough opportunity to go to war with us if they wanted. They've had more than enough opportunity. So clearly, if Russia wanted war, we could have had it. The U.S. has instigated Russia to do a war more than enough. I mean, Turkey with shooting down the Russian jet, missile systems on Russia's borders, the destabilization of the Ukraine. Now, there's something I want to point out about these protests. George Soros funded neo-Nazis to overthrow the government of the Ukraine. Is he funding these leftists to overthrow Trump? Very scary idea, because that Ukraine, okay, yeah, they're in a civil war now, but weapons had to be brought in on both sides for this to actually be able to go. So Russia's supporting their side, and you have East Ukraine, West Ukraine, but the states, everybody's already armed. The good news is most of these leftists don't believe in guns; they're for gun control. So, yeah, they'll throw Molotov cocktails, spray paint things, and bust windows, and burn cop cars. And most of the people are going to support that until they get their tax bill. I mean, all these cities, they're going to get their tax bill. They're going to hate people under anybody with a teenage kid or a millennial living at home. Those people are going to be homeless on the streets. Like, look what you did. You went and burnt a $100,000 cop car. That's probably what a cop car costs, minimum. The car plus all the equipment. There's $100,000 that the taxpayer is going to be on the hook for. Burn 10 of them in one night. You're out of your taxes just went up by $1 million. You get the idea of the property damage. And that tells you it's illegitimate protest. These are what you call the communist students, social justice warrior, but anarcho-communist, anarcho-communist, anarcho-capitalist. These two the anarcho-capitalist isn't quite as violent, but the anarcho-commies are usually the worst. These are your CCP wearing, Che Guevara hat wearing types, right? You know that. You know the Gavin McInnes always makes a good impression of them. But Putin out there saying that he's willing to work with the United States to improve relations, difficult or not. When have you ever heard Putin come out in the past 8 years talking about a possibility towards peace and improving relations in that manner? It just hasn't happened. That hasn't happened since, this is almost as historic as the fall of the Berlin Wall and stuff like that with the relationship. It's almost on that level, believe it or not. I know it doesn't seem like it is because it's not. The problem is because how's the way to look at it? Like the Cuban Missile Crisis, you could focus in on the ships going back and forth with the missiles, right, to Cuba from Russia. Okay, and then of course Turkey got missiles, and that's why the Russians did it. They responded. The Russians always seem to be in the response mode when you historically look at it. It's the U.S. propagates first, and then Russia responds, right? And it always does seem to be that way. So I'm not saying the Russians are saints. Again, their government, every bit as corrupt or more corrupt than the U.S. government. There's no doubt about that. Yes, Putin plays the populist card very, very well. There's no doubt about that. But on the other hand, you also have to look at it as, again, in the military movements, they're always responding. Yes, they saber rattle. You could say, well, they sent their bombers out this week. Yes, in response to a NATO drill. You know what I mean? So it's tit for tat, that type of thing. So chicken and the egg. Who saber rattled first? That type of thing is irrelevant. But this is the first time where it's actual apology. Even if they're both bullshitting, even if Trump is bullshitting about working with Putin, and Putin is bullshitting about working with the United States to improve relations, at least the gesture's there in the public eye. Which means at some point, if the will of the people, and which I think right now, will of the people is kind of because it's the current year, the will of the people is speaking worldwide. You have Brexit, which again, you have the Remoaners. The Remoaners in Brexit, or at least they're not as violent as the anti-Trumpers. That type of thing. And I really laugh when they, again, find these little micro incidents about the gay guy that got beat up. Okay? See all the LGBTQ, these poor victims, they're going to be persecuted. Now, apparently I didn't see the video, so I can't really comment on it. But what I heard was this guy went and picked a fight with a pro-Trump guy, and he got his ass kicked or something like that. And of course he's all bloody. But they only show you, and it's on video apparently, they only show you the last 10 seconds when the guy gets beat up. So it looks like the other guy just attacked him out of nothing. But even if it was a racist, bigot, angry white voter, pro-Trump misogynist, patriarchy, neo-Nazi, whatever, stormtrooper that wanted to kill gays, in the context of tens of thousands of people ripping up the street because they didn't get their way in a crybaby fashion, what do you think the bigger incident is? It's amazing how the mainstream media can justify the damage and the violence of these. Some people have been shot already. I don't know if anybody's been killed, but I heard there was a shooting break. So who shot who? You know what I mean? Is it people that are attacking? Look at all these white people getting attacked by the BLM. Mainstream media doesn't cover it. But I am starting to see some dissent amongst the ranks. Now, there's one commenter, I can't remember, I always brain farts with names, on the CBC there. And he's talking about, and you could tell he wants to let loose on it. I think this guy's a closet Trumper, but he's on the CBC, and the right-wingers on the CBC that get commentaries basically have to pander to the left, right? That's always about, they're a right-wing leftist, is I guess the best way you can, or a cuck, that type of thing. But he does make some good points. He talks about you know, he goes, he just finds it, and it is good at journalism when you see that. It's rare when you see that on the mainstream. And he knows he's in, you know, if he wants to keep his job, he's got to watch what he says. So he's out there and he's saying, look, he goes, think about it this way. He says, some of the stuff that's being said is so ridiculous. He goes, right now they're saying, this man has, or he goes, you know, what you hear is like, this man has no qualification to be, you know, overthrowing Hillary Clinton because she's so experienced, stuff like that. And, you know, he's in over his head. He has no experience to be running the country. Well, that was what was said about Barack Obama when he beat Hillary Clinton. So there's a recurring theme here. Nobody wants Hillary Clinton. So, again, I mean, and just think about what the DNC did. Because of, and this shows you the level of corruption. Because it wasn't so much she was pandering to win because she was a woman. She was using that as a part of her campaign. I have a vagina, therefore you must vote for me. But it was not. It was, what she was pandering for is, it's my turn to win. That's what she was. So what did they do? They took their best horse, busted its legs with a frickin' sledgehammer, and says, get in the race. Not that their best horse was Bernie Sanders. Now, Bernie Sanders, if he would have won, oh my God, that would there would be protests, I'm sure, but it would just be like, you know, you would see like, I don't think there's going to be a gun or an ounce of ammo left on the shelf by the end of the week. I can imagine gun sales must be just, you know, there's gun shops, like little mom and pop gun shops. One of them, Josh Tolley was talking about, sold out all of its ammo, sold over 1 million rounds in 1 week before the election. 1 week, like a mom and pop shop. You know, I can imagine it's a good size store if they have 1 million rounds in there, but you know, it doesn't take much to get to 1 million rounds, but you think of it, just think of that quantity. That's the small store. The bulk stores must be complete. The shelves must be empty everywhere. FBI is, like, there's now easily more firearms in the United States than there is people. Which, you know, I mean, I'm in the wrong business. I should really be you know. Now here in Canada, that's going to spin off. The nice thing is the nice thing about us being behind the times is we get a little bit of a glimpse of where Canada is going to be in, say, 5 to 8 years, and then 8 to 10 years, that type of thing, and then the next 20 years. So we could guys, well, you know, let's not go down that road. So we're starting to see rumblings in the dissent in the Conservative Party with Kelly Leitch. Now Kelly Leitch, I don't think she's going to be the person to do it. They're trying to paint her as a Trumpist kind of person, made-up term there, Trumpist, like they did with, you know, the guy from the Dragon's Den there, Kevin O'Leary. Same kind of concept, but Kevin O'Leary is a globalist. You know, he's a globalist. There's no doubt about that. He's sensible. He's like a kind Harper. Definitely way smarter than Trudeau. Definitely capitalist mentality. In the sense of he'd be better than Harper in the sense that he wasn't just pure globalist. Like Harper was a nationalist. He would have been a phenomenal prime minister. You know, fiscally responsible and take care of the country first. But unfortunately, he happened to be on the other side of the fence. That said, he's probably still the best prime minister. And I'm not saying that as a great thing. I'm saying that's the best we've ever gotten. The best prime minister we ever had was our first, Sir John A. Macdonald. Ran a tight ship. Yeah, he was a bit of a drunk, but he got the job done. Like Rob Ford, he was a total drunk and a whatever, but he got the job done. Look, everywhere you can just see the numbers, the employment numbers drop, you know, like just going crazy, and employment going up everywhere a Trudeau policy hits, right? But that aside, this is important to the World War III thing because I believe this was a plan all along, was to get this destabilization. The problem is it's on it won't work in the long run because these people, okay, right now are, like you say, social justice warriors. And yes, they are the brainwashed. Many of them will hold their ideologies until they're out of college. Once they get into the real world and they say, hey, you know what, there's no jobs, what did I protest for? You know, protesting to, you know, tax to 1% isn't working. Higher taxes isn't working. But then if Trump comes along in the next 4 years, and he is who he says he is, and I don't know if you caught the Alex Jones, Donald Trump interview last night from the making of this video. Pretty good. Pretty good. I like that Trump followed up on that. Didn't show his hand too much. And he says, you know, it's going to take time. He says, you know, it's going to take 1 year to 2 years to really get things going. But, you know, because you can't expect this guy to fix it on day one. He's not going to be able to. And I think he's reserving his hand. And right now the media is talking about... he's not going to really be able to build a wall. He's not really going to be able to... And again, this whole wall controversy. The Berlin Wall, yes, it fell. Great, they tore down that wall. Mr. Gorbachev, tear down that wall. Fine, they did it. Okay? East Berlin, West Berlin, you know, there we go. East Germany, West Germany. united as one. Still kind of some bad blood there to today, but whatever the ideology is. But for the most part, it worked well. Mexico. Oh, how dare they do that on the Mexican border? But then they never talk about the wall on that Mexico has to keep. What is it? What's the country? Central America and what's the other? I'm forgetting the country just below. Not Panama. What about Panama? Come on, work. Was it a fox? No. Was it a rabbit? No. Yeah, it was a rabbit. No. Anyway, right below to keep Guatemala. Yeah, it's Guatemala. Central America, Guatemala, Mexico. Anyway, yeah, they got a border there. If you try to sneak into Mexico, they'll deport your ass right away. So the double standard, you just got to point that out. Israel's wall. Now I don't think a wall is really necessary because they already got 700 miles of wall. Yeah, even if they complete the rest of it, fine. But the wall could be a metaphor for what Trump wants to do. Surveillance drones, that type of thing. Cameras. The wall could be electronic. That type of thing. The other thing is that the best way to control your immigration is to instill the practice of self-deportation. The best way to do that: cut off the welfare, find the people, like Ron Paul said. Anybody, you catch anybody hiring illegal, fine them $10,000 per person. Trust me, they're gone. Nobody will hire them. Don't give them driver's license. Don't give them the right to vote. Don't give them free medical care. They'll go home. And you can do this in all countries. Oh, but the women and children, no. And the thing is either you have a country or you don't, right? So right now the people have decided that they have a country. And they don't want that. So Donald Trump will take a long time to get all that. But if all these social justice warrior lefties now start seeing good job opportunities, again, think of all these people, and I don't know how many of my audience is going to agree with me on this. Think of all of you that were leftists when you were going to school. And then once you got into the real world and started figuring out how difficult it is and how much of your taxes they pay for other people to get free stuff. And I'm not against every social program, but I say you got to operate within a fiscal responsibility. You can have any social program you want, but you have to maintain a balanced budget. You just have to do it. If not, the taxation just gets too ridiculous. And in Canada, it's so ridiculous. That's where most of our poverty is probably coming from, is extreme high taxation and overregulation, so people just can't compete with anything. But if they start seeing good jobs, trust me, they're not going to rock that boat. Be like, okay, yeah, I don't like Trump, this job wouldn't exist. I wouldn't, he made it easy for me to open my own business, whatever. Those, people, when they got money in the pocket, you hit them in the pocket, they take the money away, they riot. You put money in their pocket, stability will ensue. And I think that's what's going to happen to that. Their ideology will never change. Now, as far as all those Americans that want to come up here, that threaten to come up here when Trump won, no, we don't want you. We don't want that kind of sickness up here. You keep that shit down there. That type of thing. Anyway, moving on. So, yeah, Putin talking about that, that's a historical moment. And, of course, all the other far-right leaders around the world. It shows you the trend that the world is going in, that the government and the media and all that, because it is a different system from the people. It's globalization, and it's against the people. They're out of touch. And they're only doubled down on, and you see it on the CBC, you see it on all these other... it was the racist white vote. The racist, white lash. That's the new term now. We're white lashing. Yeah, we're white lashing. No, it's not that. It's a little more. It's educated people looked at the policies. No matter how you look at it, even if you were just judging them based on their policies, Hillary Clinton's policies were worse than Donald Trump's policies. Donald Trump's policies, some of them are actually excellent. Some of them are, I'm worried about his stance on Iran. I think he wants to do gunboat diplomacy there. That's, no, I don't want to do that. I think we just need to get out of the Middle East altogether. But, you're not going to win across the board. So that type of thing, we'll have to wait and see. But no matter how you look at it, on healthcare, Trump's policy, much better. On immigration, definitely much better. On jobs, much better. I'm okay with the renegotiation of NAFTA. Now, Trump knows, he's not a stupid man. He knows that Canada and the United States are the two biggest bordering trade partners in the world. And our biggest trade partner is the United States. We do 80% trade with them, and they do just about the same with us. So Trump can't hurt Canada without hurting the United States. The softwood lumber thing, that's been in dispute before I was born, and that'll be in dispute for a long time. NAFTA will be negotiated, but I think NAFTA is going to be more cutting off of Mexico and making them get into line, which will benefit Mexico in the long run. I know a lot of people won't see it now. But if you put higher standards in Mexico, then they have to go higher standards or they can't compete. Now, that said, all the free stuff going into Mexico, all these corporations bringing all the free stuff into Mexico to keep the labor and the environmental laws like they do in China and stuff like that, that's where we can make an impact. And that's where I think NAFTA needs to be negotiated. We'll do away with NAFTA altogether. We need a new deal, a fair trade system. But anyway, but again, when Trump starts bringing jobs back, even the hardcore lefty Democrats, the working class is going to grow, and if the working class grows and the middle class grows, guess what? And they start to see wealth, and the poverty class starts to shrink because they become the working class again, not just the working poor, and the wealth class will grow as well, which creates more jobs. It will be a trickle-down effect, bringing the jobs back. Yes, it's a bit fascistic and protectionist. It's only the mainstream media that says that's a bad thing. That bringing jobs back here for like, you know, like, again, that's why we need a nationalist party. And I think the seed has already been planted here in Canada. It will not come out of the Conservative Party of Canada. It just won't happen. Why? They're liberals. They're liberals. They're actually what a neoclassical liberal is. They're some of them, yes, on the religious stuff. They're a little bit on the right. But at the end of the day, they're liberals. They're center of the road. They're never going to get anything done. Harper and Trudeau, new boss, same as the old boss. They're both bringing in Trans-Pacific Trade Partnership, which I heard some of these big trade deals have died on, you know, their DOA right now, because without the states, you really can't make them work, right? But that also is there's other things coming along that are bad too. So we have to watch out for it. But anyway, moving on. 16 U.S. soldiers killed in 27 wounded in Mosul. I think it was an artillery or mortar shell or something like that, bomb or car bomb or something like that. It's just one of those things that you know, you see time and time again that when you arm the people that you fight in the future, it really, you know, you get your own guys killed. And I know that yesterday was Remembrance Day and stuff like that, and I was talking to some of the soldiers and was taking the pictures and all that. It was pretty cool. I didn't put any of this on them at all. But, you know, it's like I wonder how many of these guys are aware of what the government is, you know, really up to, you know. Because as soldiers, yes, it's not your duty, it's not your place to question orders, but on the other hand, you should be questioned why you're going into war, you know, that type of thing. That said, new laws in the EU are preparing for April 18th, 2018, a cashless society, and yes, you guessed it, with the SDRs, a one world currency. So in other words, the new world currency is just going to be all digital. India, I think, just is pretty much moving that way, and they're issuing. They've discontinued the $1,000 bills and $500 bills or something like that, and going to be bringing in. But it sounds like they're trying to move it all electronic to get rid of fraud. No, that's to control the populace, not to get rid of fraud. That they do. And they'll just find, you know, if you can't sell drugs for cash, you sell them for guns. You know, guns and drugs are kind of the stuff that moves. It's a currency, right? Like that thing. So yeah, the Rothschilds are, you know, the 2018 currency. Now, what's going on within the States? This could play in again if they can get enough destabilization to get their martial law. It will collapse the economy if all these jackasses are out there busting up the economy. Can you imagine what's going to happen to these useful idiots when again, our subversion program comes to its full end? When the full martial law is out there, they're just going to end up in FEMA camps, all these social justice words. These are people that can't even, they don't know which bathroom to use. They can't even pronounce their pronoun to describe themselves because it's too hurtful. These guys aren't going to last long in a FEMA camp. And trust me, they will go there. When it comes time to crack down on these people, oh, well, these people ruin the economy, so therefore they can ruin the economy, blame it on Trump, and then in 2018, okay, everybody's suffering enough, let's just bring in this one world currency. They've got to get people to beg for it. Problem, reaction, solution. The government created the problem of an economic collapse. People react to it. Government poses a one world currency. Will fix everybody's problem. Centralize all the power to Rothschild banking system, which it kind of already is, but they want to get every country and all digital currency, one type of currency, complete control. Then after that, it's microchip or you don't get paid. That type of thing. Iran has reverse engineered the TOW missile, apparently. There was a tank, I don't know what kind of tank it blew up. They blew up the Iranian, it was either a Hezbollah or an Iranian, one of the Iranian-backed groups in Syria blew up a tank with a reverse engineered TOW missile. So what's important about this is if they put troops on the ground or Israelis, Americans or Israelis on the ground, right now, the Iranians could be supplying the Syrians with anti-tank missiles, which the anti-tank missiles that the Syrians are getting are like the Kornet missiles, that type of thing, RPG-29, RPG-31. They still got the RPG-7s, of course. But these higher tech missiles, they got the Eagles, shoulder-fired surface to air. So a helicopter war would be very deadly for the Americans and the Allies to go in if they start attacking Assad's troops. Because now they have close support weapons, such as anti-tank weapons, and if it's a reverse-engineered tow missile, the tow missile still works pretty good. The problem is the tow missiles work good, it seems, against things like the Abrams. I don't know how it'll do against the Leopard, but the Abrams is old technology now. It's a good tank, but it needs to be upgraded. And, I mean, almost all the Saudi Abrams tanks, they have to get a new batch of them because they got none left. They're all burnt. All tanks burn. So the Syrians, they're going to be able to, it's amazing they've been able to hold off as long as they have, but look at the coalition they have. That said, the Iraqis are, again, on that fence. It does look like they're working more with the Iranians than the Americans now. And it makes sense, too, because it's very clear what the Americans are doing. They're hurting, like I say, the biggest cattle rustling event in Syria, where they're just herding all the jihadists towards Syria to fight in Syria, that type of thing. Get them to fight the masses. Under Donald Trump, it'll be January before he can do anything. If Assad hasn't taken the country by that time, I don't know. But they're getting, I think this battle is going to go on for a few years more. That said, if Donald Trump says, okay, we're going to work with the Russians to get rid of ISIS. Well, the number one is the CIA knows where all the ISIS leaders are. They'll take those guys off. The groups will just disperse. As Syria stabilizes, Israel and Saudi Arabia will be destabilized. Turkey will be destabilized. Like I said, because again, you reap what you sow. What comes around goes around. The Middle East is the Odin-Yan plan, the Greater Israel Project. It's not working. It will backfire on Israel. There's no doubt about that. Depending on what Trump does with Iran, again, the Iranians have come out and pretty much said Trump's a wussy, and if they challenge us, their warships challenge us in the Strait of Hormuz, it would be pretty much game over for them. And you know what, the Iranians, no, they would not win a toe-to-toe war with the Americans. I know this. They don't have the equipment, they don't have the manpower. But that said, out of all the Middle Eastern armies, they're probably the best one. Now, as far as warships in that area, if I was a commander, there is no reason why I would have a warship that close to artillery guns. That is just stupidity. It is just stupidity. The Strait of Hormuz, trust me, the low-tech World War I weaponry, you fire 50 artillery guns at once. The Skyguard system, the forward deck gun, the star shells, even the missiles will not be able to intercept that many shells coming in at an Ollie Burke-class destroyer. It will be destroyed like that. Aircraft carriers, same thing. Yes, they got good defense systems. These are blue water boats. They're meant to be out in the ocean, 1,000 miles from each other, or a couple hundred miles off the coast. But off the Strait of Hormuz, just the cruise missiles plus artillery plus. Iran doesn't even have to deploy a speedboat, a submarine, or anything. Heck, they could just set mines, or even more, just create a kill box. Sink a freighter on one end of the Strait of Hormuz, sink a freighter on the other end, block the deep channels that the warships can't get out, and just pummel them. They just pummel them with artillery. They can do it, or cruise missiles, whatever. The Iranians can do this. I don't think they would win the war, but they would. And if they're working with the Chinese, chances are they've got some pretty good offshore missiles. And I've seen the stuff the Iranians have. It'll do the job. It's not state of the art, but it'll do the job. It's a numbers game. Fire 500 missiles at one warship, it's done. Fire them at once. Send 50 speedboats at a destroyer. Trust me, if they're coming in all at once, you're overwhelmed by numbers. You'll be taken out by something. So yes, the Iranians are getting bolder in a lot of ways, and I'm not pro-Iran. I'm just saying tactically, it's who the hell puts the warships there? Who the hell puts the warships there? Unless you really want these warships to be sunk. It is the dumbest strategic, and that's what I think what they want. Now the problem is all these poor, again, soldiers that are going to be cannon fodder. You got all these sailors on these aircraft carriers, okay, and all of a sudden you got 8,000 people, 5,000 to 8,000 people sent to the bottom when they. Now, mind you, it's economically cheaper to sink, a Nimitz class or what do you call it, the aircraft carrier, than it is to decommission them. So there's that aspect of it too. I think that's probably kind of part of the thing is they know that aircraft carriers are good. Their aircraft carriers are really they do have a lot of limitation. They do have a lot of limitation because they are really sitting ducks. They can only defend themselves to a degree. I mean, it's not like World War II where you'd have to smash 100 zeros into the Enterprise to sink it. You still couldn't sink it just because there's just so much buoyancy for there's just so much ship there that you could destroy 90% of it and it still floats. You know what I mean? It's a big punching bag. But a Mitsubishi Zero is not an anti-ship killer, missile. You know what I mean? Like that type of thing. Rumblings of Obama to fire Director Comey from the FBI. So I don't know. We'll have to keep an eye on that one. Basically the UN talk on replacement migration. These talks are going on now. Now, if you don't understand what replacement migration is, why there's all the anti-white stuff and stuff like that that's out there. Again, I'm not what you would call a white supremacist by any means. Cultural nationalist, sure, you could say that. I want to preserve the heritage of my country and the value systems that's in it. Particularly, just look at the Shield coat of arms, last past 500 years of history, what we've turned into pre-40 years ago, family, nation, future. That's what I want to preserve here. But what you saw with Brexit and what you're seeing with like EDL, Pegida, AFD, Germany there, which them and then Golden Dawn and Front National, all these, and the Austrian Freedom Party or whatever, all these what they call far-right groups are really upper nationalistic left. That's why I keep pointing that out, because what it is right now we're in a world, I'm going to do a separate video on this, is we have civic nationalism and other forms of nationalism, but civic nationalism vs globalism. And population replacement is about, again, diluting every country so that there is no, people have all been brought in. They're not a hosting generation of people. They're not settlers. They're immigrants. Settlers set up a country. It takes hundreds of years to set up a country. And then, of course, you have the First Nations here and stuff like that. They were here, that type of thing. But really, whether you like it or not, the way the country was set up, it was set up by the settlers. So what they want now is so that all these people that have, like, fifth generation, old stock Canadian, old stock American, old stock European, pick a country, they want to get rid of that so that there's this no ethno-nationalism, civic nationalism, that, open borders everywhere, one world currency. It sounds like a utopian world, but it really isn't. So look at the violence they have to resort to and the lying they have. The left, all they do is lie. And that's the other thing that got Trump going. And I'm finding video after video of like African Americans, Muslims, whatever. Look at CNN. They cut off that Muslim lady the other night who voted for Trump, and they tried to spin it like oh, she's some poor brainwashed person that didn't know what she was doing and stuff like that. No, the people who looked into Trump and listen. Again, most of the critics of Trump have never listened to 5 minutes other than the headlines. And I get that most people just read the headlines. They don't read the meat and potatoes of what the article's about. And of course, when all the articles are skewed against, but almost all the allegations against Trump, have proven to either be false, engineered, whatever, and simply just that, dirty politics. And when you find that out, and you find out that they lied about it, I'm not saying Trump is the greatest thing, but I'm saying that you distrust the mainstream media even more. So now when you hear about all this, okay, well, if anything made it clear to particularly white people in the United States that, no, they don't want you anymore. They want to get rid of you. This is why mixed race, multiculturalism, all that stuff is pushed so much, and open door immigration and that type of stuff is pushed. It's to destroy sovereignty of countries. And if, again, divided we fall and united we stand. One thing Trump has done is basically united a lot of people. And that's what the globalists fear the most, is people uniting. And my case in point. When an election takes place, say, Kyrgyzstan has an election, and one party won over the other. You give a shit. No. Why? I'm not from Kyrgyzstan. I don't care. If Japan has a switch in, this guy or that guy, do you care? No. No. Why? Because they're not on the world stage. They're of no value in that sense of, it won't affect me one way or the other if they get a left guy or a right guy. But Donald Trump, you have people around the world going that are not, they're from the UK, they're from Germany, they're from France, they're from New Delhi, over there in India. They're from India. They're from, and I'm listening to all these people, and they're like, woohoo, we won. Trump won, our guy won. But that's another country. So what does that tell you? That tells you the mindset of the populace around the world. It's the value system that they like. They don't care about Donald Trump. They care about the value system. They care about the unity of it. So when you get people outside the country that are like, yes, you gave us all hope for the future, our guy won, and they're not even from your country, that's dangerous. That is dangerous to the New World Order. Why? The weapons are controllable. You can trade them, you can sell them, you can give them away, you can arm this group, you can arm that group. Use divide and conquer to fight this group against that group, get brother to kill brother. That's easy. What's hard is to fight ideas. You can't fight ideology. And you can't stop an idea whose time has come. Ron Paul said that. And I know Ron Paul and Trump don't really agree on a lot, but there is a lot they do agree on. That type of thing. So the United Nations now, they have to triple down on mass immigration. In here in Canada, we just went from 250,000 up to 300,000 that we're going to be bringing in. Trudeau wanted to bring in 500,000 a year. Again, they can't. They got to double down because they don't have much time to get this done. So that means how much more destabilization you have. But it also shows in the States with all these riots, yes, it was mostly the millennials who didn't went out and vote. And I understand why they didn't. Notice, though, but they're only protesting Trump because they're ideologues. That's the thing. They're ideologues. They're protesting Trump. They're not protesting Clinton. But yet they didn't go out and vote for Clinton. Were these the Bernie supporters? Like, who are these people, right? So you would think if they were truly fair and non-biased, they would have been protesting both. Clinton for being so corrupt and stealing Bernie Sanders, or all three of them. And Bernie Sanders then, look at all these pundits now. Well, Donald Trump isn't so bad. All they did was bash him through the election. I hope if Donald Trump has the ability to fire any of these people or put them in jail, he does do it. And we need to hold Donald Trump accountable. I think he'll be held more accountable than any other president in history. Obama, no accountability whatsoever. None. Criticism, that's about it. No accountability. The man is a criminal. That type of thing. OPEC pumping mass amounts of oil again to collapse the Russian economy. But you have to understand, this is backfiring on Saudi Arabia big time. They're losing money on this. You got freighters sitting in the ocean full of crude oil that it's now costing them money to store that oil there. Right now, go start selling pails. Start selling pails. Why are you going to make a fortune? Why have they got no place to put all this damn oil? Charge them a fee, 10 cents a pail. You want to store your oil there? 10 cents a week on that pail. Well, you make a killing. But I don't think it's going to work. I don't think it's going to work. India basically banning cash, like I said, working on a cashless society. I don't know what's going on there. I don't know if they're trying to make a move towards China and to go ban their cash so that they can take on the yuan renminbi, the yuan renminbi, or if they're going to. I don't really know what their play is there. Are they just banning for what they say to ban the corruption? I don't know, but we'll have to keep an eye on that. We know about India and Saudi Arabia. Some of my subscribers, you know who you are, gave me some insight that there's a lot of turmoil between Saudi Arabia and India now. Saudi Arabia and Egypt right now. That's why Egypt went and devalued its currency by 48%. And there's a bit of a tug of war going on between them. Egypt, you notice you don't hear hardly anything about Egypt right now because I think Egypt has switched to the Russian side. I really do. I think they're going to play the fence for a while. Saudi Arabia, I don't think they know what to do right now. They do look like they are getting desperate. Because if they go one way, they're going to be slaughtered. If they go the other way, the Iranians again, if they don't work out a deal with the Iranians, they're done for because the Iranians are there. The Americans really can't save the Saudis from the Iranians because the Iranians are smart enough to understand how the proxy war works. Now, with a proxy war, you get somebody else to fight for you, and you can call these guys Houthis, right? Now, Saudi Arabia didn't learn that yet. Now, they know how to get the proxy war going with Syria to arm ISIS and put them in. Now, I think Donald Trump is going to kick Saudi Arabia in the nuts if he says what he's going to do. I think he's willing to work with anybody, but I think he's going to hold standards. And I hope he holds Israel to account. I mean, Israel's a criminal. The government there is so criminal. All these wars are bankers' wars. All these wars are Israeli wars. Again, the Oded Yon Plan Greater Israel Project, look it up. Samson option, if you see what the Israelis really think of us, there you go. I'm not against Israel. Again, I'm never against the people. When I make these generalizations, I'm talking about the governments. When I say the U.S., I mean the U.S. government. When I say Israel, I mean the Israeli government and all that establishment of Zionism and neocon Zionism, whether it's AIPAC in the States or the Israeli government itself. You get the idea. Dutch subs are shadowing the Russian naval group there in Syria. They didn't know what exactly the Dutch sub was doing, if it was just following. I'm amazing submarine has a couple of submarines haven't actually smashed into each other, because there's U.S. subs there, there's Dutch subs there, I think there's UK subs there, there's Russian subs there, there's all those little midget subs going around, here sub, there sub, everywhere sub. But yeah, so the Dutch subs, they're basically, I guess, surveilling the Russian carrier fleet and or carrier group. Not a fleet, not the whole fleet, but you got, I think, 8 warships, Russian warships in there, to even the odds in favor of, and I don't know if the Russians carried out their Caliber missile attacks again, but apparently the aircraft carrier full of MiG-29s and Su-33s are going to be doing airstrikes as well, and of course cruise missile attacks. There was the, you might as well call it the MIL-24 apocalypse happening there in the province of Homs. Last week, so the Russians are stepping up getting ready to do a major offensive. Unlike the Americans, they're not going to tell you the date and time it's going to happen. Which again, Donald Trump pointed that out. His military advisors pointed out. Why do we keep warning these ISIS guys before we hit them? Because that way they don't hit their guys. Now, there's a senator in the United States named Richard Black. I don't know anything about this guy really, but he was on RT talking about how, and again, openly admitted, this guy's a senator. He's in the know. He knows who's doing what. He is in the know. And what does he say? He admits to the United States arming ISIS. He says, they're, al-Nusra, al-Sham, al-this, al-that, the Arab democracy, Syrian army thing. He says, they're all the same group. Donald Trump calls them all ISIS. I call them all ISIS, because they're the same guys. It doesn't matter if you change their name. And it's the same guys fighting. They're mercenaries, whatever. So whenever you send your guys there and they get shot by their own weapons, again, how do the U.S. soldiers that go there not question that? It's like the guys that are shooting at me with the same the same M16 that came from my garrison. You know what I mean? Like that is got to put rumblings amongst the ranks. Getting back to here in Canada, just before I get back to this, again, openly admitted that if you arm terrorists, you are terrorists. So it means all these CIA plants. State Department guys, all these guys need to go to jail. Obama, Bush's, Blair's, they did this. They did this. We can't pardon these people. No, accountability must be, again, Muammar Gaddafi is the future of the world elites. Does it happen this year, next year, the year? I don't know. Well, right now, what I call the hellhounds, and I've referred to them several times, it looks like they've stepped up to slowly buy time to restore rule of law. But they have to do it, because the second wave just starts killing everybody. I'm not making any threats, but look, you've already got your Trotskyites in the 1919, 2016 election, 2016, revolt out there burning cars and stuff. But these are the stupid, useful idiots. They're not really as harmful as you think. Yes, they're harmful to the property, they're harmful in the area, but really these are ideologues that are so easy to manipulate and control that, Obama is the agitator that got them there. But you have to understand all the social engineering, the brainwashing that makes these people think this way. And then the rest are actual, illegals and stuff like that want free stuff. So, yes, I get who these protesters are. But in the long run, they're too disorganized to really do any change. But, however, these so-called hellhounds, called spooks with a conscience, patriots, whatever, they start arresting people, knocking people off. Right now, first wave hellhound, Donald Trump is still, in my book, a hellhound unless he proves otherwise. But we won't know until he truly plays his hand. He hasn't really shown us his hand yet. He's still playing that poker game. So we don't really know what his true intentions are until after. We have to judge these people only by their actions. So if he starts putting people in jail, then yes. I don't think you're going to get everything you want with Trump, but you're going to get. We've already gotten so much, even if we only go this far. That type of thing. And in Canada, again, you're starting to see people politicians trying to push towards civic nationalism. They're trying. Kelly Leach, again, I've been listening to her a little bit. She's a little bit, she will never be a Nationalist Party leader, that type of thing. She wants to be the Conservative Party leader. But it's just the idea that you're seeing the descent in the ranks. The CBC, can't remember the commentator's name. Again, trying to point out the hypocrisy of anti-Trump stuff in the media and stuff. on the CBC. Not easy to do, but it's there. And again, I wouldn't even call that guy. I mean, he even talked about how the LA Times was the only one that called, and the LA Times, they had a lot of stupid polls putting Hillary in, but he says they called it right and everybody thought they were out of touch. But whatever they were looking at, I forget the way they did it, but the polls were correct that Trump would win. But again, Hillary Clinton, this is, I think, the 5th smallest margin between candidates of win-loss in U.S. history. I don't know who the other 4 are, but one thing that you have to keep in mind, Hillary did win the popular vote, but you have to understand how rigged the election was. I mean, if you take away all those dead people that voted for Hillary, all those people who voted multiple times, how much did Trump really win by? So I think, these so-called closet Trump supporters are much bigger than you could ever possibly imagine. But it also shows you who's smarter. You don't come out, okay, we know that you can't reason with these Trotskyite leftists, so what are we going to do? Well, very simple. We're just not going to tell them who we're voting for. Right? So NATO wants to change the classification of the Tu-22M to a strategic bomber. The Tu-22M, which we see in Syria right now, these things were designed to do something else, kind of like take up the bombing roles of like World War II, but this machine can move pretty fast. It moves as fast as any fighter. It can carry these hypersonic missiles that basically 3 of them, I don't know how much they weigh each, they're ship killers. They go up about 40,000 feet and then they come down at Mach 4 and smack. These things are just crazy, impossible to stop. And they can go after the NATO THAAD missile system and Patriot missile systems. They can go after those, almost uncounterable or uncounterable to stop these things. That plus the Iskander missiles, which will take out radar stations from the ground. And then, of course, there's Caliber missiles coming from the sea, plus in conjunction with the Tu-22Ms. These things, plus these warheads are interchangeable between conventional and nuclear, that type of thing. So they want to change this thing to a strategic bomber, meaning strategic. Tactical is non-nuclear, strategic is nuclear. Just so you know, whenever you hear the term strategic, it can be both tactical and strategic, but depending on how it's deployed. But when you hear strategic, that's the stuff that should really make the hair on your neck stand up. And they want them to reclassify the Tu-22Ms as a strategic bomber because of their success in Syria. And the amount of weapons that these things can now carry. They've been modernized, right? These airplanes have been around for a long time, but they've been modernized. Now, its bigger brother, the Tu-160, is now into full production. So I know there were 16 of these things, these big machines on the planet, but it looks like there's going to be more. Now, again, I'm sure we'll find the proof eventually, but it looks like all these Not My President protests are basically paid for. The agitators are paid for by George Soros. Again, I can't quite confirm it, but we'll keep an eye on that. But anywhere there's death and destruction around the world, George Soros money usually follows. So that's kind of what's going on the World War III front. So we're not out of the water. I just want to make it clear that yes, Trump did win. It is a win, even if he's corrupted on the other side. Again, there is a lot of distrust there because you have to. I think he is the real deal, but I think he's not going to give you everything you want. I mean, he's still very pro-Israel. His stance on Iran worries me. However, his economic stuff looks pretty good to a degree, which will benefit Canada in the long run if we start to move away from globalization and just we could survive just doing trade with the United States if we wanted. We could. But we'd survive better if we just put all our effort into small businesses. Now, when Trump starts doing that, Canadians are going to get the same idea. And it won't be, I believe, by the end of a Trump presidency, if they don't kill him, but if they kill him, then they go instantly into a civil war. Yes, they'll have martial law crackdown, but the New World Order will lose everything. Why? Because the people who voted for Trump are people who are informed. They know who George Soros is. They know who Zygmunt Brzezinski, Henry Kissinger, the Clintons, the Bushes, the Obamas, Rothschilds, Rockefellers. Do you think these people will ever be able to, they'll never be able to put their faces out in daylight? They'll be hanging from the street lamps. I'm not making any threats. I'm just saying the informed people did vote, regardless of race, creed, or whatever. Yes, it was majority white males, but what do we keep hearing? The double downing. Oh, fuck you, Whitey. We hate white people. Hashtag kill all the Trumpsters, kill all the white people. There's attack. You know what I mean? Like, so we see the civil race war, like I said you would get. And I think, okay, I called the election wrong in this. Well, I was right and wrong. I was wrong in the sense that Trump wouldn't win. I said he wouldn't win. And if you went by the popular vote, that way I was right. So they did steal the election. They just didn't steal it in the right place. The Electoral College looks like that's where the soft coup happened. So they stole it, but trust me, the election was still rigged and corrupt. But that said, when the system is that corrupt, again, we need to restore rule of law and order. We need to take advantage of the corrupt system right now because it fucked up in our favor. That said, the other thing about this is that look at how they're doubling down on the patriarchy and the white privilege and all that. They're blaming it all on white people and saying hashtag, you got these hashtags kill, assassinate Trumpsters, assassinate white people. Yes, that is your civil race war coming. And I mean, people have already died. People are shot. There's millions of people, or tens of thousands of people in the streets all across the United States. That counts. So I was right there. I called it. Does it look exactly like the Battle of Gettysburg? No. It probably is. We're in 2016. We don't fight that way anymore. It's a different kind of fight. But it is. People are dying. People are protesting. The right-wingers aren't going out in the street to counter these other protesters. They have no need to. Why? Number one, they're smart enough. Number two, not to take the bait. Number three, they're preparing for the real threats, the people that are really going to... And the only thing that gets the right-winger backlash, so to speak, the angry white man, racist, misogynistic, Civil War wanting KKK. They call everybody a Nazi now anyway. But to get those guys out in the street, it's when they start kicking down the doors and taking guns. Now, under Trump, if he's a Second Amendment guy, even if he lies about everything else, as long as he's a Second Amendment guy, you guys will be okay. And again, he's playing the populist now. So even if he's bullshitting, he's playing the populist. You can take advantage of that to set us up for the next guy. So Donald Trump is the setup for the next guy. But Donald Trump might also benefit up here in Canada because it sets us up for a possible new party to come in, which will be civic nationalism. That's my only fear is it's going to come out of Eastern Quebec first with the sovereignty movement. But I think that one's kind of dead. I think you'll see civic nationalism start in the West first, just the way it is, not because any one major factor, but a whole host of other little factors. You'll see civic nationalism parties starting out like Alberta, Saskatchewan, that type of thing, which is going to be good for the country. It's going to be good for the country if we can get it to go. But anyway, I'll leave it at that. So if you like this kind of content, please consider making a donation to the channel. Be true to yourself, be true to others, always do the right thing, and have a great day. Hi, and welcome. All right, I got a World War III update. Just a little update, too. I was at a Remembrance Day doing the photos yesterday. I wanted to put the video up yesterday, but because I ran out of gas. I've only had it happen to me twice on a motorcycle, so this is the first time it's happened to me with the van. But I was driving on here. I thought I could make it to the gas station, but I didn't. Anyway, stupidity hurt. I was only out $20, but it's the idea that I had to... I mean, I got lucky. As soon as the van, they came to the... and went into the coast mode because I was going downhill. At least I was able to coast straight off the road on a straight stretch and not on a blind curve, right? So, I was expecting to come back, see the van in the ditch and a tractor trailer overturned or something, But anyway, I just got across the road and put my thumb out, and the guy was going by and he picked me up. So I wasn't stranded for more than say 2 minutes. It's just enough to get out of the van, bail out of my Hawker Hurricane, and pull the chute. You know what I mean? That type of thing. So anyway, I get back. I come up the road, I open the door, and my dad's, "What happened to the van?" I was like, "I ran out of gas," and I yelled at myself enough so that he wouldn't have to. So I'm like, "Stupid, bleeping idiot, da 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 da." That type of thing. So he didn't have to. So because he just did one of those, and you know what this means. It's just like. One of those, right? So it's like, why? So that's my punishment. So we get the gas and go up, and what did I do? I guess because I was so freaking, he was relaxing and he was comfortable and everything like that. So it's like I felt bad doing that. So I filled the gas can, I put the cap back on, I forgot the freaking spigot at the freaking gas station. So we get there and I open the gas can, and I look and I see it's not there, and my dad, he just turns around, gets back in the truck, and I yell at myself. So idiot, I was like, stupid. I was like, wow, really. And so that's why I didn't get the Remembrance Day video out yesterday. I didn't get as much footage as I would have liked. I was doing the photography, so I was able to throw in some stills. I got to take the photos to one of the coordinators today and all that stuff. But anyway, that was my day yesterday. Oh well, it all worked out. I put $20 into the gas into the van. So, all right. So let's jump into this World War III thing. All right. During the election, Russian diplomats were not allowed near any of the polling stations. The FBI wouldn't let them near the polling stations. There was a Russian diplomat that I heard that got killed on the election night, and I didn't hear any more follow-up. It was in New York. Seems to be a lot of Russian diplomats that get killed in New York for some reason. I think that's the second one within a year, anyway. If anybody didn't see this, again, for all the anti-Trump protesters out there, you're seeing all this stuff. I told you guys, no matter which way it goes, it's going to be rough. I mean, the anti-Trump protests now are almost as bad as the anti-Barack Obama protests that the right-wingers did in 2008 and in 2012. Oh, wait a minute, they didn't. You know what I mean? Like that type of thing. But you have to understand, it does look like this is a George Soros-inspired thing again. Most of these leftists, again, something... this, I guess, is the distractionary part of it. I don't know how long they're going to be able to keep that up, though. I thought, okay, yeah, well, they could be using this to push in martial law, but it's not going to work. Why? Because the more people look into it, the more they're going to side on the Trump side. First thing that you need to do, and this says everything, this speaks volumes, and I want you to think of it in a historical context. Putin, in his address to, Donald Trump winning the election, number one, he came out and addressed it. One of the first world leaders to do this was looking, he said, yes, it's going to be a difficult road. The relationship between Russia and the United States, didn't deteriorate. It's not their fault for the deterioration. But they know it's going to be hard and difficult, but they're more than looking forward to restoring relations between Russia and the United States. But you have to understand, now Putin could be calling a bluff here. He could be calling a bluff here. Or, like I say, we really don't know if this is all we're watching as theater, that they're all in on it, whatever. There is that speculation. You have to leave that 5% of doubt in there somewhere. Because, sometimes if it looks too good to be true, it usually is, right? So Putin could be just calling bluff and then, the game goes on the same way it does. But I don't know, because I'm thinking, again, the Russians have had more than enough opportunity to go to war with us if they wanted it. They've had more than enough opportunity. So clearly, if Russia wanted war, we could have had it. The U.S. has instigated Russia to do a war more than enough. I mean, Turkey with shooting down the Russian jet, missile systems on Russia's borders, the destabilization of the Ukraine. Now, there's something I want to point out about these protests. George Soros funded neo-Nazis to overthrow the government of the Ukraine. Is he funding these leftists to overthrow Trump? Very scary idea. Because that, Ukraine, okay, yeah, they're in a civil war now. But weapons had to be brought in on both sides for this to actually be able to go. So Russia's supporting their side, and you have East Ukraine, West Ukraine. But in the States, everybody's already armed. The good news is most of these leftists don't believe in guns. They're for gun control. So, yeah, they'll throw Molotov cocktails, spray paint things, and bust windows, and burn cop cars. And most people are going to support that until they get their tax bill. I mean, all these cities, they're going to get their tax bill. They're going to hate people under the, anybody with a teenage kid or a millennial living at home, those people are going to be homeless on the streets. Like, look what you did. You went and burnt a $100,000 cop car. That's probably what a cop car costs, minimum. The car plus all the equipment. There's $100,000 that the taxpayer is going to be on the hook for. Burn 10 of them in one night. You're out of your taxes just went up by $1 million. You get the idea of the property damage. And that tells you it's illegitimate protesting. These are what you call the communist student, social justice warrior, but anarcho-communist, anarcho-communist, anarcho-capitalist. These two the anarcho-capitalist isn't quite as violent, but the anarcho-communists are usually the worst. These are your CCP wearing, Che Guevara hat wearing types, right? You know that. The Gavin McInnes always makes a good impression of them. But Putin out there saying that he's willing to work with the United States to improve relations, difficult or not. When have you ever heard Putin come out in the past 8 years talking about a possibility towards peace and improving relations in that manner? It just hasn't happened. That hasn't happened since, this is almost as historic as the fall of the Berlin Wall and stuff like that with the relationship. It's almost on that level, believe it or not. I know it doesn't seem like it is because it's not. The problem is because how's the way to look at it? Like the Cuban Missile Crisis, you could focus in on the ships going back and forth with the missiles, right? To Cuba from Russia. Okay, and then of course Turkey got missiles, and that's why the Russians did it. They responded. The Russians always seem to be in the response mode when you historically look at it. It's the U.S. propagates first, and then Russia responds, right? And it always does seem to be that way. So I'm not saying the Russians are saints. Again, their government, every bit as corrupt or more corrupt than the U.S. government. There's no doubt about that. Yes, Putin plays the populist card very, very well. There's no doubt about that. But on the other hand, you also have to look at it as, again, in the military movements, they're always responding. Yes, they saber rattle. There's a, you could say, well, they sent their bombers out this week. Yes, in response to a NATO drill. You know what I mean? So it's tit for tat, that type of thing. So chicken and the egg. Who